Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Beneath the Surface. Today we'll be discussing the sacrifice and message of Jesus and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Joining us on the show is Reverend Nadeem Nassar, the Director of Awareness Foundation, who are working to empower Christians everywhere around the world to form an effective counter-force of love and peace to the sectarian and violence tearing many communities apart. Thank you very much for being with us on the show.
Pleasure.
What is the most captivating and central image of Christianity?
Christianity goes around three concepts. God became man. God experienced death and overcame death by life, so that when we die, we are raised, we experience the resurrection with God. So that's the second. And the third is that through the Spirit of God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, we continue to witness to this event. So it's the continuity of the faith.
What was the message of Jesus?
The message of Jesus was to reveal the culture of God. I know it's shocking for you to hear the word, the concept of the culture of God. Culture in the human experience is that when people live and interact in a geographical area in a certain time, the outcome of this interaction is what we call culture, like religion, language, literature, art, music, tradition, clothing, food. All these elements, they are culture. They are the outcome of people interacting with each other and building relationships with each other, right? This is culture. In the Christian faith, we believe God is one, but also Trinity. We do not believe, I'm telling that to all Muslims in the world, we do not believe in three gods. We do not share anything with God. God is one, but in the Christian faith is one in three. There is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Those persons, those facets of God live together in harmony and in communion of love. So, the interaction within God is the interaction of relationships of love. And this love has an outcome, has a culture. It's like we said about us, when we interact with each other and build relationships with each other, the outcome we call culture. Well, when the Trinity interacts with themselves in one God, the outcome is the culture of God, which we have no access. We can't know what is the culture of God.
But you're saying that there was a lot of love.
It is the culture of love.
That he was able to share with the people.
So the Jesus Christ, who came from that Trinity, who experienced this culture of love, came to tell us how to love each other.
But why did the crucifixion take place?
When he came and started challenging his church, his religious leaders at his time, he came to challenge the religious leaders of his time. And when he challenged the religious leaders of his time, they didn't like it, because they had the control over the people through the Sharia, through the law, the divine law. They themselves, they didn't care about the law. All what they wanted is to use the law in order to control the lives of the people and to tell them what to do, what not to do. So Jesus came and challenged that and said to them, woe to you. You take care of the little letter and the dot of the law, and you burden the people with those laws in order to control their lives. And you are far from the religious concepts like mercy, like love, like justice. So when he came to challenge their power, he came to challenge their chairs. They didn't like it. So what they did, they conspired against him to kill him. Nobody conspires to kill a nice man. If Jesus was only a nice person, they would have tolerated him. They would have, pushed him aside. But he was revolutionary. He brought this culture of God, the culture of love, the culture of service. For example, I tell you an example. He said, love your enemy. Come on. Wait a minute. What? Love your enemy? What on earth is that? So, the Jews, and there was a people called the Samaritans. The Jews and the Samaritans were enemies. The Samaritans were Jews, but they married outside the Jewish faith. So the Jews pushed them in one area and declared them as enemies because they stained, they contaminated the faith. And the enmity was dreadful between the two. The people, the Jews, if they want to go from A to B, they have to go through Samaria, through the Samaritans. What did they do? They went around it.
So they don't go through,
So
basically.
they don't contact the Samaritans. Jesus came and went through Samaria.
Which was very challenging.
Very challenging. And he met a woman at a well. And he said to her, give me water to drink, please. And she said, how on earth are you asking me? First of all, you are a Jew in the way you dress. I am Samaritan. You are a man. I am a woman. So many barriers between you and me. And you are asking me for water? And he said to her, lady, God looks in the heart. When we worship God, we worship Him in spirit and truth. It doesn't matter that I'm Jew, you are Samaritan, I am a man, you are a woman. All these things are irrelevant. What is relevant is God. So the conversation between both of them opened her eyes and ran to the city and told everybody. And they came and they sat and he taught them and they accepted him. The enemies. So, and that wasn't good for the Jews, for the leaders of religion that time. They felt he is challenging far too much.
Which is kind of what we see today, like with the events that take place around the world. When
Exactly.
someone, a peaceful man, is to challenge the people in power, they just,
Yes.
crucified.
And they have to silence them.
Of course.
So they arrested him and they conspired with the Romans. The Romans were occupying Palestine at that time and they decided to get rid of him. So they crucified him.
Well, didn't he have followers to stop the people in power to crucify him?
Yes, he stopped his followers to do anything because he said, I am not here to bring violence to the world. I am here to save the world from death, from violence, from hatred. Love your enemy. Bless those who persecute you. Pray for those who curse you. Don't try to overcome evil by evil. Try to overcome evil by good.
So the message is just to be peaceful,
Peaceful.
basically. So
Total peace.
How is that message being reflected in the Christian faith today?
So, in the resurrection, after the crucifixion, we had the hope, the message of hope, that we are not left alone. He said to us, when I go, I will send you the Comforter, the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of God. So the Spirit of God is with us to strengthen us to live up to those values and to up to those wonderful teachings and principles. We, as Christians, we believe that violence breeds violence. Death breeds death. And God is love. And who abides in love abides in God and God in them. So the central message of the whole story of Christianity, including the cross and the resurrection of Christ, is peace, is acceptance, tolerance. At the Last Supper, Jesus put a towel around his waist and he washed the feet of his disciples. And when he came to Peter to wash his feet, Peter was very upset. You know, in the Middle East, the feet are the dirty bit of us. So, and they used to wear sandals at that time. So their feet were pretty dirty.
Of course, yes.
Yes. So, and Peter was offended. He said, no, you're not going to wash my feet. And Jesus looked with love to him and he said, Peter, if I do not wash your feet, we are not one. Okay, Lord. My feet, but also my hands and my head. No, he said, Christ. No. If I wash your feet, you will be clean. All of you will be clean. I don't need to wash your hands and head. If you want to be a leader, be a servant. When you serve, then you lead.
Of course, that's the way that, you know, the majority of prophets and, of course, in the Christian faith, that's what they
served the community. And then because they served so much and gave so much, they became leaders. He never wanted to be a leader. When he entered Jerusalem, they started hailing him as a king. He said, my kingdom is not in this world. If you want to belong to my kingdom, don't hail me a king. Serve each other. Love each other. My commandment is one. Love each other as I have loved you. And you will be like your Father in heaven. So the sacrifice is the true sacrifice is when you humble yourself and serve.
Speaking of humbling yourself and serving, kind of reminds me of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. So what are the similarities, can we say, between Jesus and Imam Hussein alayhi salam?
The stand, the courage, the bravery to say no to the wrong religion. when it came to the core of their faith, the challenge was for both, either to compromise to please the religious leaders or to stand up against corruption. And they both chose to stand up against corruption of religion. And they both paid the price very dearly. Both were killed.
What is the definition of martyrdom?
Martyrdom is when you live according to your principles without paying attention to death. A martyr is not the one who seeks death. But when they have to die, they embrace it. A martyr is a person who lives by their faith to the ultimate end, to seek life. We do not seek death to be martyrs. We seek life. But in this process, if we have to die, we have the faith that we will live again. But I do not believe that seeking death in religion leads to martyrdom.
What was the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam?
Seek life. Stand up for your principles. Don't compromise the truth. And if you have to die, let it be.
But death is a subject that's very scary for many people.
Yes?
Like to end your life. So how can we as humans kind of understand that concept of death so we can kind of follow Jesus and Imam Hussein alayhi salam in that direction?
We do not understand death, Naqa. We can never understand death. We can understand life. We can live our life according to our faith, according to the teachings of those giants and icons of our society and our life and our world. And we learn from them not to compromise. We learned from them how to stand side by side. We understand that only when we reach to that level, we deserve to be martyrs.
Of course, but with the events that are taking place, for example, in Iraq, many people, be it Christian, Muslim, of either sect, are standing up and they're trying to defeat the oppressors that are oppressing many people around the world, not only in Iraq, in Syria, for example, and they've got their plan to go to many other places. What can we do, of course, learning from the teachings of Jesus and of Imam Hussein to remove these oppressors?
When we show solidarity with each other. Unfortunately, some Christians in Iraq feel they were betrayed by their Muslim neighbors. And I say that with great sadness. And of course, some Muslims showed enormous courage to help Christians. But to fear death and betray my neighbor because I want to save myself is against the teachings of Islam and Christianity and every religion. When you and I face oppressors, we know our life becomes irrelevant. What's relevant is to stand up against the oppressors. And many people paid their lives to stand up against oppressors.
Going back to the oppressors itself, and you mentioned the solidarity of Christians and Muslims. Yes, you're saying that Christians felt that they were, left in a way, and they weren't being together and becoming one in a way. But with the events that are taking place and remembering the message of Jesus and of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, can't we change this? And because both of them, both amazing icons, came with a message of love and peace. So putting the whole, being left to a side, can't they just go by the principle of love to unite?
There is never time to say it's too late.
Of course.
No, because I think and I believe with all my heart that Christians and Muslims in the Middle East have one destiny. What happens to the Muslims happens to the Christians and vice versa. So we must accept that removing any component of our societies in the Middle East will make the Middle East much poorer. If you remove Christians or Sunni or Shia or Shabak or Yazidis or Alawites or Druze or whatever component of the societies we have in Syria and Iraq, we are saying we are not worthy of those people, those giants, those wonderful, fantastic men that paid their lives for what they believe in. We don't deserve them. If we can't live with each other, what have we learned in our faith? I wonder, I want to ask those who are fighting with ISIS, and allow me to look at the camera, and I say, if you are killing me because I'm a Christian, what have you learned when you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? What have you learned when you read in the Quran وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ? Have we learned anything? I wonder.
Sorry, that was just me. You're putting me in this stage, sorry. Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. Just hold this for me because I'm not really using it. So my feet there. Okay, let me go back and focus. Sorry, that was very touching. That was very touching. Thanks. Mentioning the ayat that you did, many people still today are supporting ISIS and are putting the whole purpose of religion, because all religions, be it not just the Christianity and Muslim, because with us we had the two sacrificing leaders that taught us not only to be on the right path and to be peaceful with others, but to sacrifice yourself for others, for peace, basically. But why are people still supporting people who kill and who oppress others?
First of all, political ideology has a lot to answer for. And politicians are using and abusing religion to brainwash people, to say, if you support ISIS or people like ISIS or groups like ISIS, you are supporting true Islam. But I want to ask, is true Islam one color?
No.
Does Islam believe in either all Muslims? Take Christianity out of the formula and out of all the minorities. When was Islam one color? Since when the Prophet himself was alive with us, Islam was never one color. Even his family and friends of the Prophet, they believed in Islam in a different way. It's like Christianity. Around Jesus, his disciples were different. They understood him differently. Why do you want to squash everything into one, either black or white, or the color you choose? Why can't we have a rainbow within the one religion and still be Muslims and still be Christians? Why should I feel victory only if I finish your existence? If I take you out of life? Why should that make me a better Muslim or a better Christian? When I defeat you physically and I kill you, I am closer to Satan rather than God. I'm closer to the devil rather than love. Because no religion tells you by killing you are closer to God. You want to go back to the true faith? Don't cut and paste as you like. Don't ignore verses from the Quran just because they threaten you. Either you take the whole thing or you don't. And if you want to take the whole things, don't ignore the one thing you say before you say any verse in the Quran. You say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Before you say any verse, whatever the verse is, you are reminding yourself that God is most merciful, most compassionate. How can you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and you behead somebody?
That's surprising for us all, to be honest.
How can you claim, how can you listen to yourself saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and killing? And you talking about rahmah, mercy. Is this the mercy you want? Wake up. Those leaders are cheating you. They are washing your mind to tell you that only those who believe like you are Muslims.
But that can never be the case, because if we just imagine that, with religion, if it was just one set rule, every different culture would understand it differently
of
by
course.
itself.
No religion has one angle to look at the religion. No religion in the world can live in this way.
No, because just like remembering how Ashura is remembered, for example, you've got
endless ways.
Endless, as
of course.
you said, endless ways.
Endless ways.
The message is one, which is to of course sacrifice yourself and remember why Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrificed himself and was martyred, and for us to continue the steps that he and his
and Muslims cannot stop even non-Muslims to celebrate Imam Hussein's life. Can you prevent me from celebrating Imam Hussein's life?
No.
Exactly. Those people became beyond time, beyond culture, beyond space. No one has the monopoly of the faith. No one. I know groups in India, they celebrate Jesus Christ as a master of yoga. Can I prevent them?
Of course not.
Exactly. Show me that you are the best. Show me. And let me follow you. But don't kill me if I don't follow you. This is not the way. I don't want anybody to be a Muslim or a Christian or anybody or anything because they have to. I want them to choose to. Out of love, out of conviction, out of opening the heart to God. If God opened my heart to be a Christian and God opened your heart to be a Muslim, praise be to God for both choices. But the devil's work is when I impose on you to be a Christian or you impose on me to be a Muslim. This is not what faith is about. Faith is a step to the unknown, step in trust, in hope that God is holding us. Is like a child on a fence, and his father down is saying to this boy, throw yourself. If I go and the boy doesn't know me and I say, throw yourself, would he throw himself? No, he would be scared.
Of course.
When his father says, throw yourself, the boy throws himself because he trusts that he will be picked up. So when we have faith, we are leaping into the unknown because we trust that God is picking us up. But in what way? It's up to you and up to me to choose.
But going back to the traditions of Ashura, for example, with the events taking place in Iraq,
Yes.
many people for the past 10 years, especially when Saddam Hussein was removed from Iraq, people have been walking to Karbala in memory
Yes.
of Imam Hussein. Do you think that's going to be forced to stop? There's going to be a stop to it?
It shouldn't stop. I know priests walked this walk, the walk of Ashura. Friends of mine, priests, they made the walk, bare feet. What prevents me? What stops me to share my respect and love to other religions, to take part?
So shouldn't people fear the events that are taking place in Iraq today?
The events shouldn't, the crisis will stop sooner or later because what is not true would finish. Only the truth remains.
Speaking of only the truth remains, even you mentioned that Jesus and Imam Hussein were silenced in a way, and that's why
Yes,
they were martyred.
absolutely.
However, the message continued, so in actual fact, they weren't silenced.
After they were silenced, people understood them even more than when they were alive. People started thinking, they died. They really died. It's not only, it was not a game. It was not talk. They walked the talk. And they lived what they taught. This is the challenge in faith. How much as a priest, how much do I walk the talk? When I stand and preach in front of people, my only worry is that I do not live up to what I teach. My ultimate prayer to God every single day, help me to live what I preach. And those people, like Imam Hussein and like Jesus Christ, they are ultimate examples of people who lived what they preached to the last drop of their lives, to death.
How can we learn from them?
Not to compromise, to believe that we must walk the talk. We listen and we preach and we live. Not only we preach, we live everyday life according to that message of solidarity, of peace, of harmony, of being together, side by side. This is the message.
How can someone practice themselves in being like this? Because just thinking about it and knowing the events that are taking place in Iraq and events that took place years ago also, when someone wanted to stand and be against the oppressors, their family were on the line as well. It wasn't just them. Their family would be killed in front of them, which caused fear and made the human, because at the end of the day, we are human. And having that fear, like, I wouldn't be able to judge, because it's very scary and terrifying in the sense that your family is going to be beheaded in front of you because you didn't follow that step. How can we practice, or how can we learn to become like Jesus and Imam Hussein?
It's tough. It's very, very hard when it comes to physical torture and physical pain and beheading and death and blood. Religion becomes really to be or not to be. When they asked, one asked Jesus Christ, what is the most important thing of the law, of the divine law in Judaism? He said, all the laws and the prophets are summarized in two things. The first, love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.
So we all have to be very strong and be as a community together.
But do we love? Do we know how to love ourselves?
That's a very difficult question.
Exactly. Love your neighbor as yourself. How do you love yourself? If you are arrogant, if you are politically manipulator, if you are cheater, how do you love your neighbor? I don't want you to love me like yourself. Sorry. First, we must learn how to love ourselves and how to surrender ourselves to love of God and fill our hearts with His love. Because when we love, it's not a merit of our own. We love because He loved us first. Not because we have the ability to love. No. Every time we feel love, we must remember that this love is a reflection of His love.
But speaking of love, knowing that the people you love, which is your family, of course, being killed in front of you, how can we build ourselves, to take that pain? Because no one, even if they had a fight or misunderstanding with their family, they can never see their loved one or their family member being killed. And that's what's taking place today and has been taking place for many years now. How can we try and have that strength to be a martyr, in a sense, to continue the message of our religion?
The ultimate aim of the Christian life is to be able to forgive. Everything we do as Christians, we are seeking and praying to have the ability and the strength to forgive. Because forgiveness is not easy. When you hurt me, it's tough to forgive. But forgiving is not only that something is an act towards you. When I forgive you, I am cleansing myself. Because if I don't forgive you, I am trapped in my own hate. And I'm trapped in my own darkness. And that eats me up from inside. When I forgive you, I'm liberating myself before I liberate you. It is tough, it is hard, but it is necessary in order to live with the other and with yourself. How can I live with myself if I hate you?
It is very tough. And
it is tough.
Hopefully the viewers would actually learn from this and remember that both Jesus and Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrificed themselves, and they had, in Islam we say Jihad al-Akbar and Jihad al-Asghar, which is knowing where you're going in life. And of course they became martyrs, and hopefully we all die, or our lives finish in that way, because that's the best way to die in the Islamic religion. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, and thank you very much for joining us on the show. See you next time on Beneath the Surface.